Hi, this is Kristen Tschida with the Mom Minute for this week. And here in Kansas City, it's kind of a gloomy day, so I thought what a perfect time to talk about conflict, because I feel like conflict is kind of the gloomy part of every relationship. And we all know that in every relationship, when it's a close relationship, at some point there is going to be conflict. And in a marriage, there is certainly going to be many opportunities to have conflict. So today, what I want to talk about are 10 heart checks when you're going into a conversation to resolve conflict, to have those hard conversations, to give feedback to one another. All right, so I'm going to kind of go down the list. I have my list with me. The first one is to check your motivation. So are your words that you say going to help, are going to hurt? Will the words that you say create oneness, get back into connection, or are your words going to isolate you from one another? That's the first one. Second one, to check your attitude. Don't run over your spouse with your words. Or even with your body language. 90% of our communication is body language, and we can be saying one thing and acting another way. Our bodies they always show us off. So if we're in conflict, if we're struggling, you'll see it on your body language. So when you're resolving conflict, you just really want to check your attitude, that you are responding rightly, and that your body is responding rightly. Okay, that's number 2. Third one, check the timing. Is this the right time to have this conversation? Never have these kind of hard conversations where you're needing to resolve a conflict or a misunderstanding in public. Don't do it in front of your children. And really are you tapped out of energy? Are you totally exhausted? Those are not the right times to have these hard conversations. So you really want to make sure that the timing is right. Like when you are both on your best, when you feel strong, and when the emotions of whatever it is the issue has been, that those emotions aren't like right front and center all over your face, all over your body. So check the timing. That's number 3. Number 4, check on any other pressures. So is there anything going on in your life? Is there anything going on in your spouse's life that could have elevated what would have been just a normal conversation, or even if it's like a major misunderstanding, what else is happening that might be affecting the conflict that you have had? So that's number 4, check on other pressures. Number 5, check your code book. Each one of us we've been born with a code book. It's the way that we communicate. It's the way that we operate. There might be certain triggers that you have in your heart that are not triggers for your spouse. Here's an example. When I was working at the House of Prayer, one of my staff, I would come to her and say, hey, you know what? I don't want you to, she had a lot on her plate. I gave her a lot to do. And so I came to her one day and I just said, hey, I just want to see, how are you doing? Is there anything that I can take off of your plate? I don't want you to be overwhelmed. So she got really offended and we had to have a hard conversation. So her code book, the way that she was raised, that anytime that she was given something from her parents to do, if she felt like she wasn't able to handle it, her mom in a probably not the kindest tone would say, oh, are you overwhelmed? So for her, by me suggesting, do you want me to take anything off your plate? Or are you feeling overwhelmed? It was a trigger in her code book. Now, I would be like, yes, here, take this. Or no, I'm doing well, because I don't have that same kind of trigger. So watch the triggers of yourself and talk about that with your husband, because we each have this secret code book that has been in our DNA since we were born. So it's teaching us how to communicate, how to have disagreements. Everything about who we are in connection comes from that code book. All right, the next one, that was 5. 6, listen. If you take time to listen, Stephen Covey has the kind of the famous statement, seek to understand before you're understood. So we have to know that we're not going in to try to change one another. So we want to listen so that we can have greater understanding of where in that issue that arose. Tell me where are you coming from in that, so that we can understand. And when you listen, then you're more able to then have somebody open to hear your side of the conversation. And the whole goal of resolving conflict is for connection. Conflict actually can make your marriage stronger, to resolve it, not to just keep conflict in the midst. All right, that was number 6, to listen. I'm going through this quickly, I know. 7 is to stick to one issue at a time. Don't bring up the last 100 things that you're struggling with or you're mad at your husband for. So just, you're talking about this one issue. Keep it focused, your conversation, keep it focused on the one thing. Girls, this is so much harder for us because we have, we're the spaghetti, so everything is connected. But we have to be really purposeful in just addressing this one issue at a time. And you have to really kind of talk to yourself about that. All right, that's number 7. If you don't, your husband's going to get his walls of defense are going to go up. And then now you're back to the beginning. Now you're back to square one. Number 8 is to focus on the problem together. So you and your spouse are on the same team. So seriously, if you have a team you support, put those t-shirts on. We could put on the Wisconsin Badger t-shirts or sweatshirts so that we're reminding each other we're on the same team. So think of it when you're sitting, even if you're discussing it, my suggestion would be sit side by side. Because if you sit across from another, it's like you're setting up okay, you're on one side, I'm on the other. And really, you could even write out what your issue, the problem is, and put it on the other side of a table. Or put it on, you're sitting on one couch, put it on the chair across the way in your living room, so that you're reminding yourselves we are focused on the problem. We're not going to put that problem between the two of us. Which leads me into number 9, which is focus on the facts. Lay the emotions down and what are the facts of the issue. Don't judge one another's motives. Don't think you know the intention of your spouse's heart, because you don't, and he doesn't know yours. So you want to focus just on the facts as much as possible to see why this caused conflict, how this misunderstanding happened. And the last one we've all heard for years and years, number 10, is use iMessages. So iMessages actually create a connection because it makes you vulnerable, and it also makes you more self-aware. You actually have to know. It helps you clarify. So what I like to focus on is you say, I feel blank when you blank. I need to feel blank. So what it's doing is you're taking responsibility for your own emotions, because you know what? Your emotions are yours to deal with. No one can make you feel a certain way. So for when we come in, you did this and you made me feel, whoa, we all have to take responsibility for how we're feeling. So when I use my iMessage, I feel hurt when you didn't call me that you were going to be late for dinner. I need to feel confident in our relationship, or I need to feel secure that if you're going to be late, you're going to just give me a phone call. When we use those iMessages, it again puts the focus on the problem, not on your spouse. When you use iMessages, it's also just kind of, this is the way that I felt, so you're taking responsibility. And yes, we're saying when you did something, but it's not shaming or blaming your spouse. It's just kind of, here's the evidence. This is just what happened. Okay, those are my 10 little heart checks when you're going into a conversation to resolve a conflict or a misunderstanding. So have a blessed week, and I will see you next week.